the crypto markets, absolute rockets to the upside in almost every coin in the game. Let's take a look at the daily, and boom, baby, boom. We caught one of the hotter winners yesterday, and throughout this week, Sui up 44%. What a monumental move for the asset. Trump coin still in the spotlight today, up 55% as Donald Trump announces a dinner for the top 200 token holders. Very, very interesting, spiking a pump. And this is why we say, hey, when after an asset gets sold off absolutely massively, the potential for a short squeeze to the upside looms. And you got that here for Trump coin as the shorts got massively squeezed today for a 55% move to the upside, baby, to the upside. But that is what I'm looking at for the markets, the highlights, baby. XTN coming up. We have HNT down, DEX down again. What is happening to that coin? Struggling in the market as the rest of the altcoins boom. Jasmine getting a pump. A little bit more red than I expected to see today. You know, I didn't expect to see Fartcoin down like that. You know, it's been up pretty massively this week, but a lot of big winners in the space today. We were making gains on gains on gains as we were scalping on Sui throughout the day. Super awesome. I posted that over on X. I'm going to start posting my swing trades, not my scalp trades, but my swing trades over on X for you guys to see, and we'll see if I'm going to come up with something so I could start posting my my scalping trades. That would be really interesting. But looking over the market, baby, it is so nice and so relieving to see some green. And you know what's crazy? I've seen the biggest spike on crypto fear and greed. This is the crypto fear and greed index over time. And in just the past few days, we had a 40% spike. We are sitting at 72 on the fear and greed. We completely skipped over this yellow region. We were there for a single day. That is unprecedented. And this will update in about an hour. Very interesting to see where fear and greed is going to end up. You know, we could potentially be in that 80-90 zone. We could be up there. We could definitely be up there. And it definitely seems like market sentiment is turning around as tariff news is starting to cool. The U.S. Treasury, I think it was the Secretary of Treasury, had a closed door meeting saying that, hey, it is unsustainable for the United States to keep this tariff war going on with China. And there are going to be resolutions coming very, very soon. A deal with China on the table if that does come to fruition. If that does come to fruition, man, that would be cataclysmically bullish for the markets. And right now, you know, you're talking about buy the rumors, sell the news. That's the rumor. This is what that means when you're getting these rumors of good news in the market. Look, this is the weekly on the bubbles. Just a week ago, it was doom and gloom. Everybody was scared. And now you see double digits. Some coins even tickling up on that 50% run up. You know, like Sui on the week. I still cannot believe that. Sui making absolute massive gains to the upside. Trump coin, almost every coin in the game is green. Very hard to find red on bubbles today, everybody. Every day, you know, it is crazy to see Bitcoin trading over 90,000, and just like that, we're at almost 94K. What? That is wild. That is wild. Let's hop in and start where we do every single day into the Bitcoin chart, baby, and see where we are. Where are we likely to start getting a little bit of sell pressure? Is there going to be any sell pressure? This chart looked completely different just a few days ago, as it looked like we were rounding. We did get a little bit of a flaggeroonie that did pump to the upside. We cooked through the daily 200 SMA like it was butter, baby. Closed that candle, and now we have an indecision doji on the daily, looking for more upside for BTC. The stochastics are a little cooked here to the upside, and what I am seeing here, and I hate to say this, man, I hate to say it, but this is starting to give me a little bit of hidden bearish divergence vibes, right? As you have a swing up on the RSI indicator while you do have a swing down in price action. This is called hidden bearish divergence. When the RSI resets, but you don't make a new or an equal high, the RSI resets, pushes further to the upside. That indicates that there is further room to go to the downside from the RSI perspective, and the stochastics are overcooked and the overbought region. That is something to keep in the back of our minds, but I'm not taking away from the bullishness of the day, baby. Everybody knows who watches this channel. Am I a bull? Am I a bear? You know that above this red line, I have to be a bull, baby. Zoom on out on this on the chart. When you're above the red line, you're pumping, baby. You're below, you're struggling. You're above, you're pumping. You're below, you're struggling. You're above, you get that pump. And we just got above the last time this happened. We fell beneath the daily 200 SMA. We reclaimed it, and we went on a rocket shot to the upside for Bitcoin, the biggest asset in the game, 62% to the upside. That took, less than 2 months. That was crazy. That was upon the inauguration of President Donald Trump. And now we're getting something very similar. So where can we go? I am a firm believer. If we crack 100,000 again, I think we're likely to test the highs. We test the highs again, we're definitely going high. In my opinion, I think that is very, very likely. But where are we likely to meet some resistance here in the near term? We cracked through the two areas that I was most worried about, the daily 200 SMA and the 618-786 bearish Fibonacci retracing. That 786 here, absolutely nothing, right? Now, the macro 786 sitting just above us, the 618-786 bearish Fibonacci is sitting up here in confluence with this high volume node sitting at about 96.3. This area is likely, in my opinion, going to be the most likely area that we could potentially form that first lower high in the series. And I know nobody wants to say that, right? I know nobody wants to say that, but if we're going to get a lower high, we made a lower low. On the macro, we did make a lower low, right? When you're looking at this range, we made a lower low. Where's the first lower high likely to come in at this high volume node in the 618 bearish Fibonacci retrace, right? And then we could trade down lower for lower price. Would that not look organic in the chart right here? If we were to start the bear market, yes, absolutely. Do I think that's going to happen? No. The macroeconomic perspective is changing, right? The market sentiment is changing. We're getting bullishness in the NQ, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and gold starts selling off as investors are starting to smell that risk appetite, baby, that risk appetite. So it looks very, very good for markets in the near term. So we went over the bearish case. We went over the bearish scenario. What needs to happen now for the bulls to regain control and to look for that, yes, all-time high retest up here at $110,000? There's a couple levels in my head that I'm looking at as key areas for Bitcoin to reclaim. And I talk about a couple levels. It's just a singular level. It's a singular level with a couple different confluences. We have this macro support resistance flip, support for BTC sitting at about 95,000 coming up, and we're touching that again. We touched it here upon the strategic reserve announcement. We got that massive pump and then dumped from this level, and now we're coming up to test it again. This level is resistance until proven otherwise. What I'd like to see for Bitcoin is at least a little bit of sideways consolidation. Why? Because we're very, very far away from this 21 moving average. The 21 loves to support price action. Look what happened last time whenever we went on a massive pump. It's just 21 supported us the entire way up. The 21 to 21, the 21 to 21, and you continually were supported by the 21 until that 21 cracked, right? So we're a little far from that 21. The 21 sitting down here, yes, at about $84,000, $10,000 beneath where Bitcoin currently settles. Does that mean we're going to have a dump? No, I think that's very unlikely. What I do think we're likely to see here in the coming days is consolidation. It's very unlikely Bitcoin just has another massive green candle to the upside. Is it possible? Well, there were a lot of people that said the last 3 days were impossible. Like that could have never happened. A squeeze to 94,000. Who would have thought? And here we are. Could we get another massive green candle? Yeah, absolutely. Look back here. We had two massive green candles, a couple days of consolidation. We had two more massive green candles to the upside, caught everybody with their pants down. And that could definitely happen again, but I think it's relatively unlikely. Why? Because we're coming up to an area where the bears and the bulls have played tug of war in the past at this high volume node. And, in confluence with this bearish 618, I think we're likely to see some selling pressure here. Do I think we're going to dump? I think it's more likely that we consolidate sideways as the bulls and the bears go to play tug of war around this point of control once again. Now, what I do see here is that likely forming some kind of either bull pennant scenario like you did right here, a bull pennant and then pop to the upside, or, you know, you could get a downward sloping flag and then look for that, you know, nice little cup and handle to the upside. That's what I'm looking at to test this high volume node, sitting here at about 96,000. I think the odds was blowing right through that. Now, anything could happen, but I think the odds was blowing right through that is relatively low, So what I do think right now is that if Bitcoin even goes sideways, I don't think the altcoins are out of fuel, baby. I think that the altcoins are at prices right now that if Bitcoin goes and cracks the highs, the FOMO in the altcoins is going to be absolutely cataclysmic. You know, you can even see it here as Bitcoin's up 10%, you know, in the past couple of days. And you're seeing double-digit gains, 20, 80, 40, 34, 45, 47. You're seeing some massive gains in some of the hottest projects in the market. And if Bitcoin starts reclaiming some of these key levels, especially if we crack 96,000, right? The end-all, be-all idea is regardless of whether we get consolidation or not, we're likely to break above this level in order to continue to test all-time highs. We break this level, it's likely we retest this point of control. What I'm looking for is a crack above this $96,000 level, and this is for everything. This is for altcoins, this is for Bitcoin. I am looking for either consolidation here, a crack above and a retest before going to test higher prices. You have to retest that point of control, right? Because until proven otherwise, it is resistance until it is retested as support. And this is a key support resistance flip. Support, resistance. We're testing that right now, likely to get some consolidation while we wait for that 21, and I know it's painful, man. I hate waiting for the 21. I hate it. My mind hates it because it says trade, boys, crypto, jump into a trade. We know it's going up or we know it's going to reject. Why not get in right now? Because we are waiting for the highest probability setups, and the highest probability setups will reveal themselves when this 21 comes up to meet price action. That is the most likely area where price will move from when we get a retest of this 21. Now, it is pointing up very, very violently, right? And the past couple of days is going to pull this just because of where price action is and where these candles have closed. And if it closes again today at the levels it currently stands, this line is pretty much going to be, it's going to almost go vertical. It's going to look like back here, and it's going to chase price action relatively quickly. So as we struggle, right, and I anticipate struggle in this region right here around that 96,000, we are waiting for that 21. For my trading strategy, I'm waiting for that 21, some kind of flag or cup and handle to reveal itself here in the near term in order to, and maybe, but possibly even a retest. I know it's super sloppy right there, but possibly even a retest of that daily 200 SMA. That red line is still curving up and will continue to curve up. Why? Because we're above it, baby. We're above it. We're not going to get a slope down, moving average while price is above it. That is very, very true. And the 21 being a lot more sensitive, once you get this golden cross here, the 21 crossing the 200, that'll look very, very nice for continuation to the upside. So to sum it all up, we're waiting. What we're looking for here is consolidation, and you can potentially get into a long on a flag or the breakout and retest of this high volume node, because it's been support, it's resistance. Now we retest that puppy as support, and boom, baby, boom, the fireworks can start, and we could be looking at we could be staring at the face of the all-time high for Bitcoin. Yes, in weeks. It can happen in weeks, depending on the severity of this recovery here. We could be looking at the all-time high in the coming, I wouldn't say week, 2 weeks. If I had to project it out, maybe 30 to 60 days. 30 to 60 days in that ballpark as we consolidate, and we're likely going to get a retest. And there are going to be people that want to sell up here. There are people that wanted to sell up here since down here, and getting that opportunity again, you know, they may not be willing to pass that up. And just because we crack above the prior high doesn't mean we're going to go for the moonshot. Look what happened here. We cracked above it, did we not? We cracked above this high right here, and you got rejection. This was a breakout of this was the highest Bitcoin has ever traded, up here at about 109,800 according to the perpetual futures contracts. And boom, baby, we had that rejection to the downside to test that daily 200 SMA. So that's what I'm looking at. There's a lot of scenarios here on the table, but the key area to reclaim is going to be this area at about 96 to 97,000. Expect some selling pressure, right? Previous support resistance flip, bearish 618786, golden pocket Fibonacci retrace, and a high volume node. Three major areas that are screaming that this is likely going to be at least a reaction point. And I don't say that to take away the bullishness of the rally, but we had the rally. Now we need to take a big deep breath. We need to breathe, right? We need to breathe, you know, like they do in those therapy classes. Get yourself a paper bag if you need it. I think that's for alcoholism. I don't know. But get yourself a paper bag and breathe. Don't worry about FOMO. The fear of missing out. Don't get caught up in that, right? Because the people who get caught up in FOMO are often the people who get wrecked. The highest probability setups are going to come after a period of consolidation if you're looking to get into leverage plays. But if you're not looking to get into leverage plays, there are likely going to be some better prices than where we sit right here as we either consolidate right sideways or have some downwards consolidation waiting for this 21. Getting in at the 21 moving average on spot is never, in my opinion, a bad idea when you have that golden cross to the upside. So that is what I am looking at here for adding the spot bags. And for leverage plays on my first swing trade will be this, and I'll put this on y'all's radar before I even make it. My first long-term swing trade, this is what I have to wait. You're like a sniper, right? You're like in the army. You're a sniper. I was in the Navy, but you're like in the army and you got that warrior paint on, right? Just because you have, you know, a great setup on like a, you know, it looks like you can see your target and he's waiting for the crowd, you know what I mean? And you're waiting there with your rifle. You're waiting there with your rifle and you can see him. Doesn't mean you're just going to start blindly firing into the crowd. You're not going to hit him, right? The odds of you hitting him are relatively low. Now you wait, right? You wait until that target is in his house and you can see him through the bathroom window as he's taking a plopper, reading the newspaper, and there's nobody around him and you got that silencer, baby, and you're zooming on in and you got that nice, crisp setup ready to go. That's when you pull the trigger, and that's the same philosophy you got to go with when it comes to trading. Right now, there was that opportunity down here, that shot, right? You got the shot. You took out one target. Now, you need to take a breath. In my opinion, it's time to breathe. It's time to breathe and wait for consolidation. Wait for the next best setup. Because right now, if you were to, let's say this, you jump on into a long right now, what's your risk, right? Well, you come back and test, even if you come back and test the daily 200 SMA, not only are you longing right at three key contention points, a high volume node, the bearish 618 retest, and high volume node, 618 bearish retest. Oh, the support resistance flip. You're longing into three key areas of a massive resistance, and your odds of success are relatively low as they currently stand going into a long. Now you wait for some kind of consolidation, and the bulls prove that they can hold price up here and sustain the selling pressure that is likely to come in this area, and you break above and you reclaim the point of control. That's the moment that the bulls are going to take this market by the horns and rip it to the upside. You get into a long now, and this happens to be the next lower high. You know, say this happens to be the next lower high and we go for lower prices. Congratulations, you just long the top. That's not what you want to see. So it's very, very important to wait for that key setup before diving into a big long, right? When you're talking about from a margin perspective. All right, before we keep going, hey everybody, I didn't even give you guys a shout out today. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys in the chat. We got Wanda, Nasty Kid, April, and Michaela B here. I appreciate you guys. Hey, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for being here. Yes, and Nasty Kid, I had to push it back a little bit, man. We got caught up in the weather. We were running at the state park. You should see me, man. I was running. My love handles were flapping everywhere. My back fat was dragging behind me, but I made it through, baby. The humidity was in the air. I felt like I was drowning even though I was on dry land, man, but we made it a whole, I think it was like 1.5 miles, and I was proud of myself, brother. I was proud of myself. I haven't done that kind of running since the Navy days, baby, since the Navy days, but we're working on getting in shape for the summer. You know what I mean? The lady said, hey, you got to be hotter or I'm going to leave, and I said, hey, I can respect that. I can respect that. So, I got to get hotter at the state park. I got to get rid of this back flap. All right, so that's what I'm looking at. That's why we were a little late today, man. That's why we were a little late today. I knew we were going to be running and, ran a little over. So, hey, we're back on it, though. We're back and alive, and I appreciate you being here, man, and adjusting with me. All right, diving on in. Yeah, we are live. April, the new schedule. Yeah, hey, I appreciate you being here. Michaela B, hey, you're kind of busy today, but I thought I'd drop by and say hi and like. Michaela B, I appreciate you. Hey, you're busy. I understand. The people got family stuff and everything going on. And April with the first altcoin of the day. Already got me sweating. Whew. All right, she wants to talk about XRP, baby, the XRP army. Shout out to you guys making some of the hottest. Oh, our box of remembrance. Let's take a little glance there. We're not in it anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We're not. The Boys Crypto family, we said, hey, we're averaging in down here, and we did. And I promise you, if you're in the Boys Crypto family and you averaged into your favorite altcoin, it's likely up right now. Likely up. The 21 curving, the total 3 looking to move to test that daily 200. That'll be massive. Sitting above a high volume node here at about 809. We're currently sitting above it right now. Looks very, very juicy for a total 3. Looks good. But April wants to look at XRP, the people's coin, baby. Shout out to XRP. XRP Army, you guys have made some of the most cataclysmic gains this bull market so far. Is there more to come? Let's dive on in and see. So let's talk about this from a charting perspective. A lot of you guys know that I talk about this coin, and I think to me it gives me the heebie-jeebies on a fundamental basis. Regardless of whether you feel that way or not, I don't need to know what I'm charting to be able to tell you if I am bullish or bearish on a project. And right now, I am bullish on XRP. Why am I bullish on XRP? Because we have reclaimed this key area of support, fell beneath resistance. We got back above, and this line right here at 205 is support. Now I'll become a mega bull. I think XRP looks really good. Why am I bullish? Because we're above the daily 200 MA. That's the end all be all for me. We're above this red line. To me, it doesn't take a genius. You can look at any chart and be like, oh, we're above the red line. We're above that red line on the daily, the 200 SMA. That looks good to me. And you could zoom on out and see when you're above the red line, it's good things to come. When you fall below, struggles into the depths. You get above, boom, baby. You get below and to the depths. It's just something that I've gone by in my trading style, and I love it on the macro when I'm developing a macro bias based off of anything. So from a charting perspective, let's dive on into XRP and let's see if there's more gains to come here for the People's Token. Brad Garlinghouse sitting on the White House Crypto Council. Looks really, really good, from that perspective. And they were the #1 donator to the Trump campaign and the Kamala campaign, just based off of that, just on the previous presidential election and the SEC chair removal. This coin responded massively to the upside as the lawsuit got settled, and Ripple did, based off of, you could look at it a couple different ways, but Ripple did win. They paid a fine and we moved on with our lives, and XRP is moving to the upside. So what am I seeing for XRP here? It is incredibly bullish. It is incredibly bullish that XRP got out of this. It was looking bad. And anybody who says, oh, no, it wasn't looking bad, to me, when you're looking at the charts, was blind. Why? Because you had this massive shoulder, head, right shoulder screaming in your face, and you were dumping to the downside, and you almost lost the daily 200 SMA on a full candle body closure. You didn't. The 200 SMA held up as support. And the XRP army, you got to be thanking God. Why? Because these gaps in the VRVP were massive. The downside risk of this project is still high compared to a lot of others. Why? Because of these gaps in the VRVP. If your project looks like this on the daily and you're zooming out and you see these giant gaps, I don't care if it's XRP, I don't care what it is. It screams massive downside risk. Does that mean the price is going to crash? No, it just says that there's no proof that there's any buyers in these areas, or even buyers stepped in at the beginning, and this could have been a giant short squeeze to the upside, and that's what the VRVP says. That's what the VRVP says, and man, has it been reliable? Has it been reliable? Right now, XRP needs to reclaim that $2.40 level. You can go back and watch all my live streams. I talk about this level almost every single time I look at XRP, $2.41. Why? Because that is the point of control. The point of control being where the most amount of why am I doing that, man? Oh my gosh. Maybe it's just after the run. I'm just sore. That's what I was doing when, man, I was running. I was like, and my hamstrings were cramping. It was crazy. My back fat was dragging. Yeah, so here's what I'm looking at for XRP. You have the high volume node sitting here at about $2.41. A very key area to reclaim. Why? Because this is the area where, why am I trying to add a text box there, baby? Come on, TradingView. Come on, TradingView. Work with me, baby. Work with me. So this is the area where the most amount of XRP changed hands, and the bears won the battle. The bears won the battle at this point of control, and so far are still in control. So if you pull this Fibonacci from right here, your local swing high to local swing low, you're coming up to the golden pocket and you're so far rejecting. Okay, I do acknowledge that we're above the 200 MA, so you're likely going to ping pong around in here between these high volume nodes right here. Let's see, between these high volume nodes sitting at about $2.17, and then you're fighting an uphill battle to the upside. And even with this daily candle, XRP was trading a little higher than it was today, showing a little bit of weakness here on the 4 hour. But with that being said, you got that golden cross coming here. That looks good for XRP, baby. I will say that. You get about that 4 hour 200 SMA. Where are you likely to go, everybody? You're likely to go to the 6, and you're currently teeter-tottering right on top of that 6 hour 200 SMA. You can start closing a couple candles, hey. You can start closing a couple candles here above the 6 hour 200 SMA, and you can look for XRP to make another moonshot to the upside and potentially test that high volume node. I will flip my thesis massively. I will keep this on everybody's radar. I will flip my macro thesis on XRP massively when we get above this point of control and reflip it into support. Upon that happening, once that happens, if that happens, I'll be looking for a test of the highs here of about, $3 at least for XRP, right? You get above here, you flag out, even if it's on the 6 hour, and this could take a couple of days. This is the daily time frame. This could take a couple of days, flag out, and we push above, retest, and then you could look for higher prices. That would look a lot more organic from a price structure perspective. And, you could even see this, the shoulder head, and then you could get that right shoulder here forming and pop you to the upside very, very massively for XRP. That measured move would be absolutely massive, right? That measured move would be massive for this asset, kicking you back up to the all-time highs. And this one's even kind of slanted here. You get that shoulder head, right shoulder, and you're going to be back up in that $2.90 region, looking to test this prior high, that strategic reserve announcement back here, and that would look really, really good for XRP. So that's what I'm looking at for XRP. The level in the sand I'm looking at, where I'm going to flip my thesis massively. Right now, I'm a bull. I'm a average leaning bull. Why? Because we're above the 200 SMA. I will become a more macro. I'll be like, okay, I'm really a bull now. I'm definitely a bull if we can take out this high volume node sitting at about $2.42. And now you're saying, boys, crypto, is it worth getting into XRP right now? To each their own. Maybe it is, but to me, from a leverage perspective, I don't own XRP. I own a little bit on my ledger, but I don't own a lot of this asset. This is not one of my heavier altcoin holdings. Why? Just personal preference, baby. Just personal preference. But here you have to get that retest of the high volume node. This area right here at this $2.40 level is where I will be looking for a long. Even if we blow past that, a retest in this area with a nice cup and handle slash shoulder head right shoulder that forms at that high volume node, the area where XRP has traded hands mostly volume wise. That's where I'll be looking for a long upon that retest of the high volume node. Put a stop loss down here at what will be the daily 200 SMA curving upwards. As long as XRP remains, at higher price than the 200 SMA, this will come up. I'll put my stop below, right? This would be my trade idea right here. You get above, you take a long, just above that high volume node, you run into support and you add that stop below the 200 MA, and I'll shoot for an all-time high breakout, baby. Those would be some juicy returns on a macro swing play. So that's what I'll be looking at for XRP. That's my plan for XRP going here into the future if I am going to take a trade on this asset. All right, diving on in. Sin Nasty Kid wants to look at Cardano, baby. ADAAA, man. You said Cardano not really moving. Hey, I could agree with you, man. You would expect a little bit more of a pump a lump compared to the rest. What is this looking like on bubbles? Yeah, only had a 2% move on the day, and look at the day for a lot of these assets up, a lot of them up almost 10%. That's a little strange to me, especially because it's one of the assets that was supposedly going to be added to the strategic reserve, and that was XRP, Cardano, and Solana for the strategic reserve. That was just Trump posting something of potential assets under strategic reserve, right? So we don't know exactly, or at least I haven't seen anywhere written down a document by the United States government saying that these are the assets that we're going to hold. And now we're not going to sell any from Silk Road, and we do own some of that XRP, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, right? We're not going to sell those things, but we still haven't made a clear plan to buy more crypto. That there's been a task force tasked with finding a way to do that, but to accumulate more Bitcoin and crypto without putting a strain on the U.S. taxpayer. But we don't know how that's going to happen or if that's going to happen yet, right? So Cardano, I'll be honest with you, man. I have no idea. I'm going to write that down here. I'm going to dive on into Cardano and see why there's a little bit more of a weakness here. Is the team selling? What's going on? Because you haven't even made a higher high okay, you could say the micro time frames, but man, this was trading on the strategic reserve announcement. You were trading at almost double what you're trading right now. Very surprising to see this asset underneath the daily 200 SMA. I even think Solana's above it, isn't it? No, Solana's not above the daily either. Okay, so, yeah, maybe this plays a little bit of a catch-up, but I don't know. Woo! I don't know why it's lagging comparatively to the rest of the market, brother. I could not tell you. But from a charting perspective, I can tell you this, right? You're looking at this. Let's zoom on this at the 4 hour because I'm seeing something brewing here. So this looks like a shoulder head. Nah, man, I can't say that. I wanted to. This gives me a little bit of shoulder, head, right shoulder vibes, right? Shoulder, head, right shoulder inside there. You are, at the end of the day, you're getting this golden cross on the 4 hour. And, you're still trading a little bit beneath the high volume node. That's the problem I think you're running on into here for Cardano, is that you're trying to push up to an area where the most amount of Cardano is, the high volume node is sitting right above you, right? Right above you. This is very similar to XRP right now, where the high volume node is sitting right above, and you're likely to run into a little bit of selling pressure here in the near term as the RSI is cooked, the daily stochastics or the 4 hour is cooked, the daily the 4 hour RSI is cooked. The 4 hour stochastic RSI is cooked, so likely to get some consolidation here. But as far as why it's lagging, I think the value should be a little more than 70 cents right now, man. Especially off the lows of about 50 cents with this coin, trading back here at about $1.40, still 50% off the high, where a lot of coins have made a miraculous comeback. Sui's trading a lot better than this right now. And why do I keep hitting on Sui? I'm hitting on Sui because I'm not shilling it because it's my favorite altcoin right now, but I'm telling you, it's my favorite altcoin in the game right now, and the one that I think can do the most damage, the best risk to reward play I see going on into 2025. It is very imperative for Cardano to regain this 200 SMA, which is still curving, it's going to start curving down the longer we trade down here. But this is a very, very slow moving average. Very, very slow moving average. That is, you know, it was greatly affected by this close up here. And these closes, you've had a lot more days up here where you're trading than you have down in these levels. Let's see if we get that reversal for Cardano. You got to get back above that daily 200 SMA and that high volume node staring at you square in the face, as well as the bearish 618, 786 Fibonacci on the daily. You got that 786. Look at that, man. That's beautiful right there. You got that 786 touch to the dollar from this reaction of your prior range. That 786 got touched, just kissed there, man. Just kissed, and you got the rejection to the downside. Not to say that Cardano is going to dump from here, but you really got to get some bullish momentum to get above these high volume nodes. They are no joke. They are no joke, because there's likely still bears trying to get out of the market here. There's likely still bears trying to get out of the market here. That's why high volume nodes are dangerous to long into, because there's still likely, and again, the high volume nodes are showing past price actions. It's not showing you, oh, this is the order book. I'm not looking at the order book here. I'm looking at where Cardano has changed hands. There's likely still bears that are trying to get out here. And if the bulls have the momentum to crack through that high volume node and reclaim that point of control, that'll look very, very good for Cardano and represent one of the best risk reward assets in, best risk reward plays in the game, because you get above and you retest it in confluence with the 200 SMA here on the daily and the high volume node. That would look like a very, very beautiful area to take along. But right now, I'm not seeing Cardano as one of the hotter assets in the game right now, man. I'll be honest with you. Thanks for the question. I have to dive on into that fundamentally. I don't know if the team is selling or doing anything that they're not supposed to be doing. I'll take a look. I'll look at the wallets and I'll let you guys know what is going on with Cardano tomorrow. All right, so diving on in. Wanda wants to look at Sui. Yeah, absolutely, Wanda. We're going to dive on into Sui. Sit Nasty Kid, I thought Cardano was going to be a sleeping giant. I think it's going to sleep right through the bull run. It's possible. I will say this. If the United States, a couple things bullish for Cardano. I believe Cardano is USA based, is it not? Couple things for Cardano. It is. Number 9, Cardano. You get the tax-free crypto assets. Everything on this page right here, everything on this page, you go on over to CoinMarketCap and you click on USA. You get the tax-free on American-made crypto assets. I don't care what you're looking at in this game. I don't care if you go down to the 300, the 300, which I never do. Do you guys ever see me doing TA on things down here? Hardly ever, right? Hardly ever. It's just not something that I do, right? Because these are high-risk plays. With that being said, very high-risk plays. With that being said, if we get here in the United States that tax-free U.S. crypto, all of these assets, I'll put my trader stamp on it. And not even a trader stamp. Just from an economic perspective, if you could hold a crypto tax-free, you're going to run into the hottest projects in this game. And you're looking at that. You're looking at a couple of them: XRP, Solana, Cardano, Chainlink, Dogecoin, if you want to put it up there, Sui. These assets are what are going to massively make a cataclysmic impact when it comes to price action. You will see big green dildo candles like you've never seen before. That's going for Cardano. As well as it being in the U.S. Strategic Reserve, if the U.S. comes out with some kind of way to start accumulating Cardano, that would look really, really good. Cardano does have a lot of its supply that is still not out. Something interesting. And, I'm saying that, and Sui only has 32% of its supply out. That's pretty wild. AVAX 50. A lot of these still only have about half their supply out. XRP is about the same, about 50%. 60% there. So yeah, there may be have been an unlock or something that I'm not aware of. So I'll dive on into that, man, and I'll let you know. But Cardano does have some bullish things on the macro that can push this project higher, especially if the platform starts getting used and U.S. government and other governments around the world start investing as well, right? So that's what I'm looking at. You're looking at for a big institutional adoption play like XRP, baby, like XRP. So that's what I'm looking at, Nasty Kid. I appreciate the question, man. Wanda wants to look at Sui coming at you, Wanda. I was gonna pull this one up anyway. I'm glad you wanted this. I'm glad you dropped it on in the chat. Listen. Shh. This is a secret. I'll tell my secrets here on the live. I'll tell my secrets, right? I'll tell you my secrets. Right? Not really. That sounded a little creepy. All right, so Sui is trading at a level I think is very interesting. This is still a new project. This project came out not long ago, back in September of 2024, when I was still sailing the ocean blue in the United States Navy. Sui is new. With that being said, it has still accumulated about $10 billion in market cap right here. It's sitting at the number 12 cryptocurrency, and I see this thing ticking away. Where is it? All crypto? This thing keeps slithering its way to the upside, and I keep seeing this overtake asset after asset after asset. Chainlink, the next on the list, likely to come here very, very soon, coming within $200 million of Chainlink. This could happen in an instant. It can happen very, very quickly, and then Tron's on the list. I think Sui's going to creep into the top 10. Why do I say it? Boys Crypto, why do you say that? That's crazy talk. Why do you say that? Because the Sui network, if you dive on into the white paper, the team, not only very smart, right? There's a very, very clear unlock schedule, right? Where you know where the teams are going to get access to their coins. Not a lot of them. There's no staking out that I'm aware of for Sui yet, right? There may be some low, there are some high liquidity pools that aren't really verified, but you can't stake this thing on coin. But when you can get some staking involved and earn a percentage yield on Sui, this thing is going to absolutely fly. So these things are not, available yet. And in addition, Ethereum is struggling massively. Sui could do everything, in my opinion, everything Ethereum can do and better, faster, cheaper, more scalable. I think this thing is going to be the towering winner of 2025, and my altcoin portfolio is backing that, baby. My altcoin portfolio is backing that. I hold some of this in my retirement account, baby, over there on I Trust Capital. And I'll tell you what, when you're looking at your retirement assets, when you see your retirement assets, some of them go up by 42% in just a couple of days. We were averaging in down here on the retirement account. Felt really, really good on the leverage plays, making absolute banger money on these plays, scalping this to the upside. Sui is one of those plays where, like Synaptic had said, a sleeping giant. This isn't in the public eye yet. I don't hear people talking about Sui. I did when it was back here. But when this thing catches wind again, trading above the point of control down here at about 225, and you're running up into an area of resistance, that $3.40 level here, the high volume node sticking out. I acknowledge that we're coming up to an area of resistance, but you've changed market structure on the macro. You made that first higher high, a higher low. Very, very likely we have to assume that coming in, and it could be anywhere. You could flag out and continue higher here like we did back here. You flagged out and higher, it looks very, very likely for Sui here, and even a 618 bounce would coincide with a retest of this high volume node back here at about $2.40. My limit orders are down here at about 250, 260. If I get that opportunity, man, I am going to scoop up some more Sui like I'm running out of time, and I think we are. I really think we are running out of time to accumulate Sui at these prices. I will say this. I'll put this on the line. Let's see. Where are we at? Where's the end of 2025? Right here. Put an Alt V. I know you guys, my early supporters, are going to be here, back here, right? Let me put this. We'll put this. Let me put my price prediction box for Sui back here in 2025. I think at the end of 2025, there's two scenarios. Bullish, right? You crack up into this, this $50 billion level, $60 billion level, which is not crazy, right? Because up here, you have things, Solana's at 78, USDC, you have 7 assets that are above this, and I think Sui is better than these assets. I think Sui is better than Ethereum. I'll say that right now, and Ethereum is 20 times bigger, right? Ethereum is 20 times bigger. That would have coincided with a $40. I'm not going that far. Don't be like, oh my gosh. Boys Crypto said that, right? This is the box, right? And we'll put a little text box. I never used these before. Boys Crypto 2025 year-end prediction. I don't even know if I spelled that right. Can I lock this? Is there a way to lock this? Anchor, lock. Yeah, lock. Ha, right? So I'm going to put that up here. I think the region between $12 and $15 is coming for Sui. I think that is very, very likely. I think this asset is incredibly undervalued, and I think this thing is going to scream and do a 5x. This 2025 cycle, its altcoin season does begin, and that also depends on Bitcoin. But bullishly, I think $12 to $15 is reasonable. You start challenging Solana? Yes. Yes. I still think we could see a $20. This is my, this is the area where I think that Sui's going to go up here in 2025. I think once you crack this high, you're going to get some kind of consolidation, have a blow off top here in that region. I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put that into the universe, everybody. And we're not even going to look at that. That's a long ways away. That's at least 6 to 9 months away, in my opinion. I think Sui's going to creep his way back up to the upside, and you're going to see a rally upon rallies. Keep in mind, this rally right here, from where was it? Where was this on the got on Coinbase here? This rally back here, right, from 52 cents all the way up to $5 or to $5 was a 10x. A 10x from here would put you at $30 for a Sui, and this happened in the course of 4 months. I think this could happen again. I think this project is in the early stages. I think the development team is amazing, and I think the tokenomics are there to back it up, and it competes with one of the biggest layer ones that we have, Ethereum, and Ethereum is struggling. It needs another. Honestly, we're getting to the point where Ethereum may need a replacement. So that's where my altcoin bag sits, baby. Ride or die with me, baby. Ride or die with me. If you want to dive on into the boys crypto kind of style. But Sui, man, that is my number one altcoin right now of this season. And I'll let you guys know if that changes. But Sui, baby, Sui. That's what I think is up for Sui here. You crack above that daily 200 SMA. And we're off to the races again. And the FOMO for this project, I think, is going to go through the roof and is going to catch everybody with their pants down. Look at it on the weekly here. Look at this on the weekly. You had a nice downward sloping channel. You broke out of it. You broke out of it, baby, with this weekly candle right here. You broke out of this to the upside. You could even argue that this is a flag right here. Does this not look flaggy to you guys? Flaggy or breakout takes you all the way to 733, and you get there, and you could go on what's called a blue skies breakout. Look what happened the last time we went on a blue skies breakout for Sui. We rallied from the high over double price. You could get some massive squeeze for Sui to the upside. I think the weekly says yes. The weekly's at fair value on the RSI. Crossing that mark line, your signal line is crossing your mark line. The stochastics are ready to go, saying that Sui is likely to go on a monumental moonshot to the upside like we'll never forget. And I got my money where my mouth is when it comes to this asset. I can't speak higher of it. I cannot speak higher of it right now at this point in the game. That's what I'm looking at. So we looked at Sui. Sid Nasty Kid, what's up, man? Hey, I appreciate you. Yeah, Cardano, Sleeping Giant, sleep right through the bull market. Anything could happen, man. Sui could fall to $1. Hey, this is crypto. And I think each and every single one of us here has at least been screwed in this asset class before, and you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like. That's the purpose of this community, man. And for all of us to come together, I've lost money in this space before. Man, when I started leverage trading, baby, we lost money, baby. We lost money. I lost hundreds, thousands when I started leverage trading, so I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't use a demo account like a clown, right? Use a demo account. If you never leverage traded before, and you don't know what you're doing, and you can't handle your emotions, use a demo account. Please, I beg you. You're going to save hundreds, thousands. I don't know what capital you guys have, but you could save tens of thousands. You'll save yourself a lot of money, because when you open that demo account and you start trading, you're going to lose. You're likely going to lose. What happens when you lose? Well, nothing. Not on a demo account, right? You're not going to be impacted the way you would if you started losing real money. Then you start using that demo account and you got a trading strategy and you start making money on a demo account. That's when if you could prove to yourself you can make money on a demo account, that's when you can start moving into, okay, now I'm ready to start investing with my real money because it's working on my demo account, and I can do it with real money if I use that same strategy. That's the idea behind a demo account. I beg you guys, please use a demo account if you never leverage traded before. So yes, a nice breakout for Sui out of this downward sloping channel to the upside. It looks very, very good for me, and this coincided. Look at this. I just noticed this just now. Look at this support resistance flip that we had right here. Look at that. I just noticed that. Resistance, resistance, resistance. And you've retested this as support here with the candle body closures on the weekly. You got that bounce to the upside. This here at $1.88 is your new floor. This is your new proven support level here for SUI. And now to the upside, the next level of resistance on the macro, on the weekly, are going to set at these levels here respectively at about 344 and about 528. And this high volume, that 344 level where that high volume node, these high volume nodes are sticking out, going to be your range of struggle. You break past that, I think it's likely you test the highs at about 528. You do that and boom, baby, a boom to the upside. SUI will go. I think this is the sleeping giant of the decade, man. I really think that this could compete with Ethereum and Solana. And for those of you who don't think that that's possible, it's possible, oh my goodness, Wanda, oh yeah, it was in Trump coin, got me, and it wasn't even the right coin. It happens to all of us, Wanda. It's okay. It's okay. That's what we're here to learn, and we're here to grow together. Yeah, so, what was I looking at? Solana. Looking at Solana real quick. Solana traded down here at $17, and in the course of just a few months, in the course of just 6 months, it had a 10x from $20. This is the kind of move I see happening for SUI. I think it could happen. I think it can happen very, very quickly. And I think that this is the style of move you're going to get for SUI. I think SUI is going to come up and play with Solana and Ethereum and contend for, yes, a top 10 and potentially even a top 5 spot. You need a 10x to get there. Oh! I haven't drank enough water today, baby. Whoo! After that run. All right, Wanda said Trump coin. Yeah, Trump coin got you. It happens, Wanda. It happens, right? But hey, you know what's important? Wanda, is that even though you got by Trump coin or some random coin, right, that got released that wasn't really Trump coin or whatever happened to you, Wanda. The biggest thing is that you learn from that, right? If you just get screwed in this market and you don't learn from it, like what happened, and honestly understand what happened to you to make you lose money, then now I bet you learned something, Wanda. Like, hey, was it the right, it could have been anything. It could have been the right contract address, the wrong coin, on a different, account, or sent the money the wrong place. I don't know what happened to you, Wanda, but what I do know is that if you learn from that instance, you'll never make that mistake again. You learn from your mistakes in this space. Eventually, you make so many. And for leverage, I made so many mistakes, man. I made so many mistakes, and then I got so frustrated with losing. I started being like, okay, every mistake I make, I'm gonna write it down, and I'm gonna make a little journal. I'm gonna say, hey, these are the mistakes you made. And before I make any trades, you could go through that list, right? Even as a mental checklist, you could be like, oh, did I get wrecked like that before? Yeah. All right, I'm not going to do that again. And then you're left with the things that make you money, baby. That's the purpose of the demo account. Yeah, finding a trading strategy that works for you. So, Trump coin. Why is Trump coin rallying? Well, you got some massive news. Trump coin rally. Trump coin, baby. He offered some kind of dinner to the top 200. Yeah. Trump's biggest meme coin investors get invited to dinner with the president. Isn't that crazy? So everybody's trying to compete with these top holders. The top 220 holders will be invited to an exclusive gala dinner with the president next month. Isn't that crazy how everybody's FOMOing into the coin? To me, I hate to say it, but if I was trying to get rid of my Trump coin, that's exactly what I would do. Hey, the top investors in my meme coin, you guys could come on in and have a dinner with me, 220 of you. When he's made billions off of this, I'm not ragging on Trump coin. I don't see this thing revisiting the highs. This is where who's selling here? That's what the question would be. Who's selling? Can anybody answer that question? I'm going to look at the Trump wallet. I'm going to see if they're offloading here on this FOMO news where people are trying to just compete to have a dinner with the president. Once this fizzles out, likely that this meme coin struggles, and if we get another pump in the market and there's no other good news for Trump coin and that investor dinner just depends on being a wash, or, those investors get scared of being a top holder because it's in the depths, That would have just been an excellent opportunity for people to get out of their position, in my opinion. Now, that's on the macro. With that being said, we talked about shorting assets like this. If you short an asset that's just been massively beaten down to the squeeze, you got a massive squeeze here, or a lot of shorts. And in a single day, all the shorts from back here, from about 2 months ago, got wrecked. They got wrecked. Why? Because you shortened an asset that's already off, 100% off its highs, essentially. Trump coin, man, this has been a ridiculous disaster, right? To the downside. Can this turn around? Yeah, it could turn around. You could get a potential squeeze to the upside, right? You can. Why? Because there's still shorts up here that have not been squeezed. You could get that massive squeeze to the upside for Trump coin and still be bearish on the project. It's very, very true. I'm just not a big meme coin investor. It's not something that I like. I just have seen meme coins wreck people time and time again because everybody FOMOs into it, and it's a game of chicken to see who's going to hit the sell button first. Who sold up here? Right? Well, more sellers came in than buyers up here. And isn't this crazy this was in just such a short amount of time? This is in such a short amount of time. Let's go back here on the 2 hour. This was an 8 hour time period. This massive squeeze from 22 all the way up to 82 was in a 8 hour time period. Look at the 4 hour. This was a single two candles on the 4 hour, right? Boom, boom. And then it was a struggle ever since. I don't see this thing resurfacing. I really don't. With that being said, you're cracking above that 200 and you got a golden cross pending. More upside is likely to come here if Trump coin is going to consolidate, and that 21 comes up in the price action, you can get a further squeeze to the upside. Do I see this thing ever returning to highs? No. The AI safety score is horrible and only 20% of the supply is out, right? Only 20%. Let me see. Maybe it's more. I don't know if that makes me speculate a little more. That makes me speculate a lot more. Did they not just have an unlock where they were able to... Let me see. When is the next unlock here? No. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into this, but it looks like we're entering into a period. When was this? April? Yeah, you're going to start getting some unlocks here going, starting in July. You're in a period of unlocks where a couple fraction of a percent is released each day, it looks like. But I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into that. So, yeah, getting that, I just think him launching a meme coin, he's trying to make as much money as possible. How would he do that? Announcing events like that and then putting sell orders up here. And even if he wants to buy back in, he's a whale in this. He owns 80% of the supply. I can't get behind it, man. Especially not with how he's been treating the U.S. economy and the markets. Not for me. That's what I'm looking at for Trump coin, man. I'm sorry to go on the kind of like the hate train right there, but that's what I'm looking at. Popcat, please. Oh, Sinasty, he's trying to get me, man. Ooh! Ooh! All right. We'll look at Popcat, brother. We'll look at Popcat. Meme time. Sin Nasty Kid says meme time. Meme time, baby. Yeah, it's meme time. You guys want to go over some meme coins? Drop your meme coins in the chat. We'll dive on into them. We'll see. All right. We'll see. All right, and you guys know how I feel about meme coins. But I'm going to look at these from a charting perspective. Why? Because I don't need to know the name of the asset to be able to tell you whether it's bullish or bearish. You're very far beneath the daily 200 SMA here. I get that. But you're starting to get that nice rounded bottom here for Popcat. And that inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder looks to have broken out to the upside here. That shoulder, head, right shoulder. It is slanted, but still valid. Shoulder, head, right shoulder here to the upside. You didn't get a retest of that neckline. That's okay. but you're looking at here a target of the neckline right here from the base of the head. And you came up here and you did meet that target. So that did get satisfied. So now you've changed market structure. You know, you're making a lower low, lower high, lower low, and this is your first higher high, right? You can say that this is your higher low, right? Because now you've cracked and you made even another higher high. So where are you likely to get your first higher low to come in? From this swing low, right, to wherever you topped out at this 618786, which is currently sitting at about 26 to 29 cents. That golden pocket sitting in here at about 26 to 29 cents. If you're looking to trade on the micro time frames, right, or not even on the micro time frames, but like on the 4 hour, this would be an area where I'd be interested in looking to get a little bit of a reaction to the upside for Popcat here. Even as the 21 comes up in the price action, that would look good from a market structure perspective. I will be honest here, for Popcat, looking very, very good. And you did get that flag, baby. You got that flag here, and it did crack to the upside. It did crack to the upside. That looked very, very good here for Popcat. And I don't even think you're at your measured target, are you? You almost got there. You almost got there. So I'd be waiting for that 21 to come up in the price action. It supported it here, you know, and serves as support until it doesn't. So the 21's still creeping up. It looks good for Popcat, but for me, if I was looking to get in, I would be waiting for a retrace to that golden pocket 618786. Golden pocket Fibonacci, a Fibonacci that we draw all the time, bullish and bearish, doesn't matter. You can draw it bullishly and you can draw it bearishly. And right now, even as you're cracking that high, that looks strong for Popcat. You may get a little bit of a turnaround here for what was one of the hottest meme coins in the game back here in 2024, was it not? Yeah, it ran up massively. I remember Popcat being the whole thing. It has that cute little icon where that Popcat, yeah, because it's Popcat, right? And everybody loves cats, I guess. Not me. I'm more of a dog guy. I got a cat, man, in the house, and we're friends, man. But you know, sometimes, don't tell my lady this, but sometimes we play, we do some gymnastics. You ever see how much a cat could flip? You know, you throw him and you see how many times he can flip, and he lands on his feet. Because I've never done that, everybody. I've never done that. I promise you. Please, my lady, don't kill me. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at, baby. That's what I'm looking at for Popcat. Looking good on the smaller time frames. You got a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. What are you looking for if you're speculating on a long that next higher low in the set, which is likely going to come in at the 618 here before you go and test for higher prices? That's the reaction zone I'll be looking at. The 786 even has some high volume node clusters sitting down here that look to support you. The high volume node sitting at the 886. This is a nice area of support, man. If you came down to the 786, this would be a very, very nice area to looking to get in a long. Why? Because you're coming down to the 786 and you get the high volume node, the point of control here of this range to support you. And you can put your stop beneath the 4 hour 200 SMA. And yeah, you can ride that to at least get a new high, take a new high. Where's that new high likely to come in? At your fib extension? Yeah, coming up here to the 1.618 for your next high. That looks really, really good to me. This would be the trade setup for me, man. This is what I would be waiting for here for Popcat. A juicy 8-to-1 risk-reward ratio. If you do come down to that 786, that would look good. Or whoa. Hold on. Is that the 786? The swing low to the high? Yeah, it is. No, it's not. Boop. GC 5-to-1 risk reward ratio trade. That would look really, really good to me, man. This is what I'd be looking at for Popcat here. Coming down to that golden pocket, looking to get a little bit of a retrace. That's the 618. The circle represents the 618, but dipping down to the 786 and using this high volume node cluster as a shield for you. Looks good to me, man. Looks good to me. That's my analysis on Popcat for you, man. It looks good. You know, zooming on out, this thing can get a squeeze to the upside. You don't short things that are down this far. You do not short things that are down this far. You flip this upside down. If you're looking at that would be, look at that. That gives great perspective. If you're looking at this, if you're looking to short, flip this upside down and say, would you long this? Would you long right now? If this was a chart you were looking at, would you long this? After having a massive pump to the upside and seeing a little bit of weakness, just not something I would do. You know, do your own due diligence, man. This is just for entertainment. Just for entertainment purposes only, everybody, not financial advice. But hey, Popcat looks for a reversal here, and it's looking good on the smaller time frames from a higher high, higher low perspective. Looks good to me, man. Looks good to me. Thank you for dropping that on my radar. Hey, MH, what's going on? Hi, said hi, Matt. CSPR. Yeah, let's dive on into it, man. Absolutely. I appreciate you jumping on into the chat. CSPR. CSPR. I have no idea what this coin is. Korean won. Is it on perpetuals? Hey, we got on weeks here on the perpetuals. Weeks is a great exchange. If you guys do not have, my link for Blowfin is in the description, but Weeks is also a great exchange. They have a great demo account. I don't have a link for them yet, but yeah, that exchange is really awesome. All right, so CSPR coming out, looks like July of 2024. If it didn't come out, it came out on at least on Weeks on that date. All right, so what I'm seeing here on the daily, let's see if we get a little bit of a fib pull here. I'm getting a little bit of a Fibonacci itch right here, a Fibonacci itch. Coming down to the 886, that's looking okay. That's the first thing that I'm looking at. So you do have this this support line that has been supporting you all the way since back here in December of 2024. And, you know, do you have a downward sloping resistance line? It's tough to get multiple touches in here, and you could say that was it. You could say that this was it right here. You had a touch resistance. You broke out and you had that retest, and now you're looking for further price action to the upside. That looks okay. That looks good to me. And what would that be? A cup and handle coming down to the 886 retrace. The altcoins can retrace to the 886. Assets can retrace to the 886. I like the 786 better, but for altcoins, I've seen it more often than not. The 886 seems to be something that the altcoins respect a little bit more than traditional assets. So let's get this out of here. You didn't have bullish divergence. The stochastics are a little cooked. The RSI is sitting at fair value. This looks okay, man. This does look okay. I'd want to see a little more price action here going on into the future. I see a little bit of a triangle here that is, a little bit of a symmetrical triangle that you're teeter-tottering around in. You got multiple touch points here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're sitting right on that resistance point, and you got a couple of touch points here on the daily on the support line. So this is what I'd be looking at for a breakout of this structure right here. Whether that be to the upside or the downside, these are 50-50 patterns, and they could go either way. I do acknowledge that, but I do like that this asset would look to come and retest that daily 200 SMA, and you definitely don't want to see a break to the downside of this. That would look horrible on a rollover here. But you have gaps in the VRVP above you to support price action to the upside. What I want to see is this high right here taken out at about, whatever decimal this is, 11265. I do want to see that level get taken out to reclaim that higher high, higher low. You've got your first, lower high, you got your first higher low, and you want to see that higher high come in to prove that you did switch market structure. So that's what I'd be looking at here in the near term for CSPR. You have a giant gap here, looking to gap up, and this, this high volume node up here did give you a little bit of issues on this wick. So we'll see if the bulls can overcome that selling pressure that's there. You got some high volume node clusters beneath you, and you're coming to the end of this triangle, man. You're going to go one way or the other. You're going to go one way or the other, and you're running out of days. I'd say in the next 2-3 days. See, Thursday candle just opened, did it not? Oh, it did open. It did just open. Okay. So you got Friday. I'd say by the weekend, you're looking for a breakout of this thing, man. You could be looking for a substantial candle, something like, to this nature, whether it be to the upside or the downside. I think the upside is more likely, especially if Bitcoin at least trades sideways. I think that would give the market an opportunity to breathe. And as people start realizing that Bitcoin's starting to turn around, I think that risk asset mindset will heat back up, and the altcoins will get a little bit of their rally. And, let's see what Bitcoin dominance did today. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin dominance did make a little bit of a reversal. Not huge. It couldn't have been huge. Yeah, so you did get a little bit of a red candle here. This was yesterday. It did get bought up in the back half of the day. On Bitcoin dominance. Could this be the rounding point? It definitely could be. I'm not saying it is, but it definitely could be here for Bitcoin dominance. Why? I'm going to say that the entire time we're in the golden pocket, and we've been in the golden pocket for over a month, man. We've been in the golden pocket for 2 months, since February 2nd. So this is going to be a key area where I'm looking for Bitcoin dominance to round out and drop to the downside. Why? Because we're in an inverted cup and handle to the 618, 786 bearish retrace with a giant gap in the VRVP beneath us, and as risk on assets do kick back up into this game, it could be the top for Bitcoin dominance. We still have the 786 above us. That could serve as resistance. And I know this has been a 2-year uptrend, but when this cracks, look, this high was cracked here. This high was cracked here. And we went on the biggest altcoin season, arguably since 2017 of 2020 or in 2021. And this was a 44% drop in just a couple of months. In 4 months for Bitcoin dominance, that would lead to massive gains in the altcoin sector. And I think that could be right around the corner. And, I have to speculate on that until the 786 is broken, and I will speculate on that until the 786 is broken at about 66.3, a candle body closure on the weekly at 66.3. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin dominance, and the altcoins looking to retake control here out of this inverted cup and handle. That's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin dominance, baby. That's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin dominance. All right, so I bought back last week because Lark Davis bought it. Everything he buys turns into gold. Lark Davis. I'll be honest, man. I don't know who that is. Lark Davis? Who is he? This guy? Long and short, top coins in crypto. Lark Davis on X. Yeah, we'll give him a follow, baby. We'll see what he's about. Oh my gosh, 1.3 million followers. Oh my, what is this, man? Yeah, man. I'll check out his channel. That's cool. Very interesting. Yeah, I appreciate you dropping that name on our list, man. I like following like-minded people. We'll see what I don't know anything about him, but I'll take a peek and see what he's like. I appreciate you. All right, so Casper for MH. Casper. Is this what we just looked at? It is, right? CSPR, Casper. Yeah. Yeah, CSPR. That's the real look at. All right, cool. Getting ahead of myself. All right, everybody. That's what I'm looking at going on into the night. Look, we have some massive FOMO going on in here in the market, and I encourage you to take a breath. I don't think now's the time to open up those big 10, 20x longs, those big swing plays, right? You can scalp these things all day long on the 1 minute, on the 5 minute, on the 15 minute. But man, the bigger plays I think are going to be now on this pullback, right? On the first pullback that we get for BTC is going to be likely a good area, right? And I'm talking about pullback, man. And we just had this massive pump. But when I'm talking about pullback is consolidation, right? I even see here on the 4-hour, man, this looks so good for Bitcoin. This looks so good. Even on the 2-hour time frame, potentially forming a little bit of a flaggeroonie here. This flags out throughout the night, and I don't want to be too optimistic in saying this, but we have to acknowledge that 100K is on the table again. 100K is on the table again. This flag, we had this breakout, and this just happened over the course of, this was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, in 3 days. You get some consolidation here, and the 21 runs up the price action, especially in the 4-hour time frame. We could be looking at $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of the week. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but the charts are saying it is. The charts are saying it is. Despite the heavy resistance that's above us, I do expect selling pressure at that $96,000, $97,000 level. But we got to keep this. I'd say the chances of this happening around 10 to 15%. 10 to 15%. I'm not going to give it a high probability. I think the likelihood of us consolidating here underneath this level, looking to retest that $96,000 range before we get up into that $100,000 region is relatively likely. The 4 hours curving on the stochastic, so man, the buy pressure is on for BTC. The buy pressure is on for BTC. I appreciate you dropping that name for me, Sin Nasty Kid. Thanks. MH wants to look at Injective. Yeah, man. Hey, this is going to be the last one for the night. We'll look at Injective, and then I'm going to pop on out of here for the night. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here with me, taking a glance at the market and the hot setups in the game, baby. So Injective. Gotta be honest. Unsurprised. This asset was a towering behemoth back here in 2024. What happened? It got 2023, and I thought the resurgence was going to be on and full blown Donkey Kong for Injective, and now I can't believe we're staring at a sub $10 Injective. With that being said, you got to zoom in here on the smaller time frames to start playing that 200 MA dominoes game that Bitcoin is currently playing. You broke above the 4-hour 200 SMA, and you're looking to flag out here. Wow, we've been tight on the day for Injective, and that's surprising as a lot of assets have rallied pretty massively today. Wow, that is very, very tight. Let's see if we can see it on the 2-hour time frame. Yeah, so this is what I'd be looking at for Injective, a potential flag forming out here, that 21 coming up in the price action. This would be looking for your next leg up on Injective to get up here in that, man, break that $10 zone. I think that is very, very likely for Injective. The stochastics have been reset here on the 2-hour time frame. A 2-hour time frame, I like it, man. It's just something that gives me a little bit of, I consider this small, I consider the 1-hour time frame is a smaller time frame. When I start looking at the 2-hour, I'm like medium. Now 4-hour, medium, and then the longer term being the daily, the 8-hour and above, I guess I should say. So that's what I'm looking at here. The little bit of that lifer vision, baby. Shout out to the crypto lifers, baby. Shout out to Sam Price. He's an awesome dude. If you don't give him a follow, jump on over into his channel, give him a follow. He's a super awesome guy. Taught me a lot of what I know, and you know, his trading strategy, the 21 coming up in the price action with the flag and pushing up further to the upside. He's a bull flag, bear flag trader, and you know, he nails it, man. He nails it. He's a really smart guy. So that's what I'm looking at here. Shout out to the lifers, baby. With that being said, I do see a little bit of this. I did just notice this here on Injective. You got a little bit of bearish divergence as you're swinging across on the RSI indicator while you have this swing up on price action. That says that, hey, maybe there'd be a little bit more of a consolidation than you see in this 2-hour time frame here. Maybe you get this, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Come on, TradingView. Be nice to me, baby. And you get that, you know, the swing across on the price action / swing down on price action, making lower highs, or you're making lower highs on the RSI, or you're making higher highs in price action, suggesting you're going to crack this low. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that that bearish divergence will play out. I just don't see it happening, especially if Bitcoin holds this level right now. I see a lot of these altcoins making some monumental moves coming up into the coming days. As long as Bitcoin can, you know, hold his pants where Bitcoin currently stands right now at about 93,000. I do see some consolidation very, very likely for BTC here. What we're looking for in the broader term, right, even if it happens over the next day / 2 days, 3 days, we'll be talking about this on the stream, is that $96,000 level to crack. That high volume area, that high volume node is going to be the key area for Bitcoin to reclaim at 96, 97,000. That key support resistance flip, bearish 618786 Fibonacci invalidation, and the high volume node of the prior range that we're going to come up to and run straight into like a truck. So let's see what kind of strength that the bulls have, baby. And if we reclaim that, flip it to support, we will be looking for all-time high breakouts, baby. All-time high targets. And we'll be getting into those sweet leverage positions before it happens here on this channel. But we're going to be like snipers, baby. We're going to wait for our target. We're going to wait for the hottest setups, and that's when we're going to execute. So thank you each and every single one of you guys for being here. Thanks to Nasty Kid. Bitcoin going to 112K. I think it's very, very likely. And if we crack that all-time high, blue skies breakout, baby, after the capitulation that we had, look what happened here after we had massive capitulation. A lot of fear in the market. You broke that prior high and boom, baby, boom, to 100K from 70,000. That was a 30% pump. Something similar here would take Bitcoin to $140,000 level. Could that happen? Absolutely, but we'll take it one step at a time. This high volume node cluster, this is our next enemy, as they say in the Lord of the Rings. The enemy stands here, stands strong. The enemy. Yeah, it's crazy how they say that. Well, it's wild to see that the Lord of the Rings has more Grammy, what is it called? Golden Globe Awards, Grammy Awards than any other movie set in history. It's an awesome series. If you guys have never jumped on into that, the Lord of the Rings, super awesome. And the Hobbit, I'll say this, and this is controversial. The Hobbit series, I think is better than the Lord of the Rings. I just thought I got a juicier feeling inside me when I was watching The Hobbit, baby, and I love The Hobbit. I thought it was really, really good, really, really good. If you're into that fantasy adventure stuff, hey, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for hanging out with me tonight on this Wednesday, baby. Thursday, tomorrow, trash day. Don't forget to take your trash to the curb, everybody. My name's Matt. This is Boys Crypto. I will see you guys tomorrow on the live. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. I am out. Thanks for joining me tonight on your Wednesday and sharing your time with me. Much love, everybody. Have a